पीपल एक वर्ड होता है, आप क्या यूज करते हो पीपल के लिए? पीएल। लाइन को काट से बनाते हो? अगर मैं इसको डार्क बनाता क्या बनता? 3 वर्ड है इसके अंदर, बिलीफ, बिलीव, बिलीव्ड। अगर आपको कंफ्यूजन होता है तो बिलीफ में हुक लगा देना और बिलीव्ड में कट कर देना। बिलीफ, बिलीव, बिलीव्ड और ये पीपल। आप लिखना है एडवांटेज ऑफ द पीपल, एडवांटेज ऑफ द पीपल। आप लिखना है वेलफेयर ऑफ द पीपल, वेलफेयर के लिए डबलिंग कर देंगे और यहां पे पीपल लगा देंगे। वेलफेयर ऑफ द कॉमन पीपल, कॉमन पीपल। आप लिखना है स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ लिविंग ऑफ द पीपल, लाइन से ऊपर इस लूप को बनाना और पीपल से काट देना। स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ द लिविंग ऑफ द पीपल, इसको हम क्या पढ़ेंगे? स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ द लिविंग ऑफ द पीपल। एडवांटेजेस ऑफ द पीपल, ऐसा लगा दो। ऑल सेक्शंस ऑफ द पीपल, बिजनेस पीपल, टू द पीपल, फॉर द गुड ऑफ द पीपल, फॉर द गुड ऑफ द पीपल। लिखो एडवांटेज ऑफ द पीपल, फॉर द गुड ऑफ द पीपल, वेलफेयर ऑफ द पीपल, वेलफेयर ऑफ द कॉमन पीपल, टू द पीपल, सेक्शंस ऑफ द पीपल, बिजनेस पीपल, all sections of the people, advantages of the people, standard of living of the people। अब हाई पे लिखेंगे 100 के आसपास। रेडी? Start it. Madam Chairman, I am glad that we are having a debate on the European Common Market. I wish that it had taken place earlier. Had Parliament been in session when the Minister of Aviation of the UK visited Delhi, it would have had an opportunity for arming government with its views, thus helping it in formulating the statement, but at any rate indicating to the world at large that Parliament is fully behind the Finance Minister in the statement that he has made. The statement that has been made by the Finance Minister is admirable both in content and in tone. The problems that face us are the result of the emergence of the common market of Europe cannot be bypassed. Whether we like it or not, the future is with continental economies, and the emergence of the European Common Market of Europe is one of the steps in this direction. No one can deny the stakes that we have in the matter of entry of the United Kingdom into the Common Market of Europe. I have done some research into the actual position of our trade, and I think it would perhaps help the House to estimate the magnitude of the problem that is facing us. We are importing 35% of our imports from Western Europe, including UK. We are exporting about 40% of our goods to this area. We have a large interest in the outcome of UK's entry into the common market and the terms on which she proposes to enter into the common market. In the present circumstances, we cannot visualize what the terms will be, but we know that our stakes are great, and we have already indicated our deep interest in the terms which the UK would be able to negotiate. But having made our standpoint clear, it would be unbecoming of us to do anything else except to be prepared for all eventualities. I want the House to realize that while undoubtedly this is a great challenge, we ought to be prepared and not content ourselves with giving expression to certain views which might give the impression to the outside world that we are in a state of panic. To suggest, for instance, that the pattern of our trade should be changed overnight is not realistic. A changeover in trade is no solution. My honorable friend Sri Krishna Reddy pointed out that our balance of payments was most unfavorable with Germany. I know that it has been unfavorable, and while partly this is due to Germany imposing very high tariffs, let us realize that we have had to depend for aid and capital from the developed countries, notably Germany, and as such our balance of payments is bound to be unfavorable. It has been recommended by my friend that we ought to think of the pattern of trade being changed so that the Eastern European countries might be our main customers. Before us, the advantages of rupee credit and rupee payments are dangled. I only want to sound a note of caution. While it is true that from the point of view of our immediate difficulties, rupee payments offer a solution in the sense of imports not being a current draft on our foreign exchange resources, we ought not to suffer from the delusion that we are getting something for nothing. Nor can we think that these rupee payments which are made may not work to our disadvantage. I do not purpose to go into this question today, since the issues that merit consideration are different. I hope that Parliament will have an opportunity of discussing the whole scheme of rupee payments on some other occasion, so that we might have an opportunity of weighing the advantages and disadvantages of such rupee payments. No one for a moment objects to diversified pattern of trade, a structure of trade which is not dependent on any particular grouping of nations. We have emphasized to a certain extent this diversified structure of trade probably in the future we have to emphasize it even more. But what is the position today as it is? The terms which can be arranged for UK's entry into the common market are not dependent on that country alone. They are dependent on others as well. This is the position which we face. We should now find out how best we can line with this situation. There is one thing which has to be affirmed on this occasion. I hope Parliament will affirm it, because there is a danger of our overlooking it to the extent that we suffer by the new groupings in Europe, the moral responsibility of those countries to compensate us in all the greater. This would be in conformity with the trend of modern things. In a modern welfare state, if an individual derives a benefit and others suffer injury, there is a principle of compensation or reparation that comes into operation in such a case. First of all, I would like to thank the members of this House, all those who have spoken and all those who have even moved cut motions for the interest that they have evinced for the cause of health. I agree entirely with so many friends who have said that far too little time is given to this House for discussion and exchange of views on a subject which is so vital to the progress of the country. It is undoubtedly a nation-building activity to cater to the health of the people committed to the charge of any government, and if we are not able to give enough attention to these problems, and if we are not able to give enough money to improve the standards of health, I am of course convinced that we shall not really make the progress that we want this country to make. I am, however, heartened by the fact that the countryside is health conscious. Anywhere that I go, the two things that the villager demands are medical aid and relief and schools for his children. And I believe that anything the people, the masses demand will certainly come about. 100 की स्पीड है, 1000 प्लस वर्ड है, फ्लक्चुएशन 0 है लगभग, फुल स्टॉप का गैप दिया गया है, 80 पे लिखेंगे. रेडी? Started. Sir, the Honorable Minister read out the whole list of schemes which the government had been introducing, like the Rural Works scheme, crash programs, 500,000 jobs scheme, and the whole plethora of schemes, but he has deliberately concealed the most important thing, namely, despite all these efforts by the government, unemployment has been continuously rising ever since the first 5-year plan. If in the beginning of the first 5-year plan, unemployment totaled 33 lakhs. Now it is anywhere near 400 lakhs plus 30% of the population who are in a state of disgust unemployment. Unemployment problem is continuously getting aggravated despite all the crash programs, despite all the rural works programs that have been undertaken so far. I am tempted to say this because the Honorable Minister has deliberately used the details of the various schemes of the government only to conceal the main point that the government has utterly failed to solve the problem of unemployment. Whatever they have done has been a drop in the ocean, and the unemployment problem continues to be aggravated. You may be putting a few crores of rupees here and there in the name of solving unemployment problem, but in fact whatever money you have put in the unemployment schemes has been frittered away by private hungry contractors and political workers of the ruling party at the local level. They have been misusing the funds rather than creating assets. I would like the Honorable Minister, for example, to tell the House, out of the total investments you have made for the crash programs, for the rural works programs, how much percentage of the total outlay has been spent on productive assets. Government will not be able to give the figures because, like the figures for unemployment, government refuses to collect figures regarding productive assets. How much of the total outlay for employment schemes has been spent on productive assets, creating employment of a permanent nature. In fact, a large proportion of the money has been spent on investments which create only temporary jobs, and the man days that have been added to the total employment figures are only temporary in nature, even if they are real. Mr. Vice Chairman, sir, the Honorable Minister said that the proposal of the mover of this bill, namely in case government is unable to provide employment, it is duty bound to pay unemployment allowance, cannot be accepted. The main reason put forward by the Honorable Minister is that investment should be used in productive schemes and not for giving doles. That was one of his arguments. He said that because of the resource position, the government could not utilize their limited resources for unemployment allowance because the implications would be too large. Large amounts of money will be needed for such a scheme. He also said in his characteristic fashion that if unemployment allowance is given it will add to the inflationary pressure. I fail to understand his logic because unemployment allowance can add to inflationary pressure only in a situation where such resources have been created by deficit financing, or in a situation where unemployment allowance is given without commensurate development activity. It is true that in a period of inflation, in a period of economic stagnation as we are having today, any disbursement of money from deficit financing will add to inflation. The mover of the motion or anybody else did not demand such an allowance to be distributed. We demand that while the economic crisis should be solved by changing the economic policies of the government is duty bound to give unemployment allowance in case the government fails to provide gainful employment to the people, particularly the working people. The Honorable Minister spent a lot of time in enumerating the steps that government have taken. For example, the Bhagwati Committee's interim report was submitted. Earlier, an inter-ministerial group report was submitted and the final report was submitted in May 1993. Then another inter-ministerial group was formed by the Planning Commission. They deliberated and submitted a report after a number of years. Interim reports, final reports, inter-ministerial groups, reports and reports galore, but no action. Why is that despite the Dantwala Committee's recommendations, concrete figures have not been collected regarding unemployment? Because the government knows that if the practice of making estimate of our unemployment, which was there till the end of the third plan, was continued, people would rise in revolt because this government is incapable of providing gainful employment. Plan after plan, year after year, the additional labor force coming to the labor market has been much larger than the additional employment generated by all the crash programs and special programs taken together. Let the minister have the courage to contradict me. Is the minister prepared to assert that the new jobs created every year are equal to or more than the additional labor force? He would not be able to say that. 80 की स्पीड है, 840 के आसपास वर्ड है. ये आपको SSC C&D ग्रेड टेस्ट नंबर 43 यूट्यूब @80 पे, और पहला जो बोला था वो 100 पे मिल जाएगा. URL वही है सेम, SSC C&D ग्रेड टेस्ट. इस वाले पे अपनी आईडी पे लॉगिन करके टाइप करेंगे. अगर कोई भी अच्छा लिखा तो